Good afternoon and welcome back to Deakin Stadium for live NPL Capital Football Grand Final Top 4 series between Canberra, Croatia and Gungahlin United. It's match 2 of the day. Earlier today we saw Tigers FC surprise Balcony United to win 2-1. I'm Russ Gibbs, your commentator. Joining me on the gantry is Frank Keisha. Frank, that was a bit of a surprise.
It was. It was all done by heart, by the look of things. I think you could see just how emotional and how excited the Tigers players were after the game. Walking in, you could, the last sort of few throws of the dice there from Bill Connor with everybody in the box. I was sort of sitting behind the goals, just having a bit of a look, and it got very exciting in the end. But yeah, it really opens up the whole top 4 series now.
Well, it does, because Canberra, Croatia come into this one on 3 points. Tigers FC now on 3 points. Gungahlin on 1 point. Balcony on 1 point. If Canberra, Croatia win today, obviously they're there.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it sort of shows you a little bit that you can't sort of, count your chickens before they've hatched. Obviously, I think Bill Connor would have probably looked at last week's games and the way they played and the way Canberra, Croatia, dismantled Tigers. It probably would have been walking into this game earlier today thinking, we get 3 points and we're pretty much there ourselves. But it just goes to show that, in finals and on any day, a team can beat another side.
Alex Rigby off the bench, nicked himself the winner as well. Mistake from Jordan Thurtell, uncharacteristic from the goalkeeper.
Uncharacteristic from Thurtell, and the other goal that Tigers scored was from another mistake. So I think Paul Maker will be looking at that, thinking, based on what happened last week and the chances that they missed, and what happened, unfolded this afternoon. A few mistakes really let them down.
Didn't create as much this afternoon though as they did last week against Balcony United, probably because of the Tigers' shape against Gungahlin, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a shape. They looked a little bit flat or complacent to me. I don't know what it was. I think maybe it's like I said. They probably would have almost penciled in 3 points based on last week's performance of the two sides, and they played that way.
This is what we saw in some respects from Tigers last year, wasn't it? They had a horrendous end to the season
yes,
and they couldn't buy a win. And yet, come finals time, they suddenly managed to turn it around and they beat your Canberra Olympic at the time, didn't they? It's something about finals that Tigers seems to bring out the best in them.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we beat them 4-0 to win the league on the last day, and then we couldn't buy a goal the following week. That didn't matter what we did, and they were just they just kept on turning up. They just kept on getting numbers in behind the ball, and and full credit to them. So I think this is something that we spoke about a lot last year, or over the last probably decade, was the influence of Gabby Wilk and the passion and the emotion that he brings to that Tigers side. Maybe that's a bit of a legacy that it's kept back from his times.
They hadn't scored a goal in 305 minutes before today. They'd only got one in 605 minutes before that. They hadn't scored a goal at Deakin Stadium in 5 matches before today, but for some reason all those out the window, and it's just turned into a good afternoon for Ryan Grogan and his team.
Yeah, and it's like we said, Russ. There's a couple of mistakes, and if you were looking at it, you probably would have said, Jordan Thurtell hasn't made a mistake for 5 matches at Deakin Stadium or 500 minutes, and it's just unfortunate for him that probably if not the best goalkeeper in the comp, one of the top 2 or 3, probably just lost the ball in flight or a bit of concentration, and a bit of a tap in there for Alex to put them 2-1 up.
And that is the most important statistic, the final score. Balcony United 1, Tigers FC 2. Let's switch our attention to this one then. Earlier this season, myself and you stood one level below in the rain, watching Canberra, Croatia and Gungahlin United play out a 1-1 draw. Considering the conditions were terrible and they got the game underway, it wasn't a bad match, was it? No,
it was good, and it probably signalled to me that they were probably the two sides that were going to probably be most likely to fight it out. We've had other sides stick their hand up at various times throughout the season, but I guess this is where we probably talk about Dean's side in particular. They've been consistently good all season, and even in those games where they haven't performed to their best, they've still managed to eke out a result.
Let's take a look at the lineups for this big one. Canberra, Croatia first. They're unchanged, unsurprisingly, from the side that beat Tigers FC 3-0. So we'll see that 4-2-2-2 formation, which is very fluid, that Dean Ugrinic has been playing over the last few weeks. Sam Brown stays in goal. Jordan Lamb, Ivan Pavlak, the fullbacks. Marko Verkic and Matt Gerbischer, the the central defensive pairing. Nico Oida and Ryan Keir in front of them, Daniel Cobertado and Emilio Kishta, and then the front two, Daniel Barach and Jason Ugrinich.
Yeah, very stable lineup, and we've spoken about this at length all season, Russ. You know, it's only a short season, but stability and consistency was going to go a long way into making sure that, you know, a side had success over the course of the year, and they've demonstrated that again.
Only the three changes for Marcel Munoz' Gungahlin United this afternoon. The big one, though, is the absence of Jack Green. Injured his ankle last week. He's been replaced in the back three by Tom Milicevic. Elsewhere, Sam Habtemarian starts, as does Zach Barbatano. Josh Laguda in goal. That back three, Lachlan Griffiths, Tom Milicevic and Buddy Abbas. Midfield four, Anthony Timotheo, Josh Gillespie, Jeremy Habtemarian and Sam Habtemarian. Front three looks full of goals. Zach Barbatano, Michael John and Felipe Bernardo Madrid. But the absence of Green, a big blow.
Absolutely. And I was tempted to actually pick Gungahlin to maybe get an upset today, based on what we saw last week and with Jack Green in the squad. But with Jack Green out, I think it definitely tilts the favouritism, you know, towards Canberra, Croatia, based on that. Interesting to see the two boys that he brought off the bench last week in the shape of Sammy Habtemarian and Zach Barbatano have earned themselves a starting 11 spot this week.
Interesting 10 substitutes. If you were a first team coach in Canberra, you wouldn't mind this lot in your squad. Canberra, Croatia, Michael Pochi, Nick Bobolas, Daniel Subasic, Dom Gianpaolo and the goalkeeper Seba Rance. Gungahlin United, their goalkeeper Gabe Singer, then Nick Rathjen, Michael Adams, Mishka Namoski and Liam Walsh.
And I'll add two to that. I'll add Tommy McLaughlin and Nicol Kalfas. You know, that's, you know, you've almost...
There's your team.
There's your team. I've just got to find a club, Russ.
I'm sure there's plenty going on behind the scenes in the Acacia household.
Yeah, plenty behind the scenes. I'm not sure if it involves a football club, just quietly.
Your referee is Alex Toomey, Nathan Shakespeare and Jordan King, the assistants. They're backing up from the game previously when Shakespeare was in the middle. Looking forward to this one. Yeah. The game was good between the two earlier in the season, wasn't it? And both sides looked full of goals, and we're expecting goals today. And conditions suit for goals, and a great contest today. I've been asked by Matty Gerber for cameraman not to zoom in on him. He's had a bit of an accident at work. He's got the band-aid on his forehead and looking a little bit worse for wear. So zoom in on him. What did he do? Do we know?
I think what he told me, he headbutted something metal.
It wasn't a leftover from the incident with Julian Borgner last week then?
No. He was going to try to get that story out, but no, it was definitely a work accident.
Here he is with his mink pink hairstyle in the centre of the field. Captain's armband. Anthony Timotheo doing the honours for Gungahlin United this afternoon. The league champions against last year's grand final winners. Not a bad way to end Saturday afternoon.
Can think of worse, Russ. Can think of worse. Perfect conditions, isn't it? Really
sun beating down, shadows lengthening. There is a little bit of a breeze, as there always is. Just pleasant enough. So the state of play. Positive result for Canberra, Croatia would almost guarantee their place in the grand final. Gungahlin United, a defeat would leave them up against it next week, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so Gungahlin will look to get something out of this game. They move into that game against Tigers next week, and look, you know, then it becomes a bit of a toss-up between the two of them. If Gungahlin can get themselves a point, then that puts them on 2. If they win next week, they go to 5, which means Belconnen can't catch them even if they beat Canberra, Croatia. Canberra, Croatia win, they go to 6. It leaves the door open for pretty much 3 clubs next week. Obviously, a Canberra, Croatia win this week would enable them to have the destiny of the finals in their hands. And pretty much they've had that destiny all season based on, you know, their success and their results, even down to that last game when they played Tuggeranong. And obviously, you know, we were asking the question around how are they going to approach it, and their attitude's been faultless all year, Russ. Well, they're on a bit of a run at the moment. 13 games unbeaten in regular season, looking to extend that this afternoon. They have a good record against Gungahlin United. They've only lost once in their last 5 NPL matches against Gungahlin. That was 5-0 though, last year. It was, and Oida already striding forward. Kishta in support. Barach up there too. Comes for Oida. He's still there. Nico Oida! And almost giving us a goal inside the first minute. I was actually just about to say to you, Russ, I think that the clash between Nico Oida in the middle and Anthony Timotheo will go a long way to deciding this game. Canberra, Croatia won the ball early in the piece, and and managed to get themselves a shot on target. Really well saved there from Laguda.
Pressure already from the corner. Ball cleared as far as Kishta. Looking to send it into the area. Oida, plenty of red shirts up there. Balach looking to turn in the box and putting the pressure on. And Canberra, Croatia flying out of the blocks.
It's a real finals feel about it too, Russ, isn't there? Zach Barbatano on the ball, looking to get forward with Gillespie.
Here is Barbatano. He's overrun the return. This is Gungalin's worst run in the competition since 2018, when they didn't win for 8 matches. They're now 4 without a win, if you discount the forfeit victory, which I'm sure they wouldn't. Ugrinich sends it wide towards Balach. Up against Abbas. Balach will back his pace against Buddy Abbas, who's no slouch though. Here is Balach. Swings it in. Milicevic with the headed clearance. Gillespie helps it on its way. And chance for Sam Habtemariam to get his foot on the ball. Griffiths sends it forwards. Gurbish has made a bit of an error here, and Felipe Bernardo Madrid is interested.
And that's probably the next pivotal matchup, Russ. Gibraltar and Felipe Bernardo Madrid. They would have been teammates.
Oida looking for Ugrinich in behind, and the stabbed foot from Milicevic. And dare I say that Gungahlin look a little shaky at the back.
Yeah, but even so, Russ, I mean, last week against Belconnen, even with Jack Green in the squad, Belconnen created a number of chances. So it's not just, the inclusion or Jack Green not being in there. So there's obviously a few things happening, further forward in the field that's allowing opportunities to come.
Well, they'll be relying on Felipe Bernardo Madrid for the goals. 3 goals this season, all of them have come at Deakin Stadium.
And you'll probably see a fair bit of rotation between Felipe, Michael John and Sammy Habtemariam. More than likely it'll be between Felipe and Michael John. But yeah, that front line will be quite fluid.
Jeremy Habtemariam looking for Bernardo Madrid, and a mistake by Verkic, and here is Bernardo Madrid into the penalty area. He's got John square. It's Bernardo Madrid denied by Sam Brown. Chances at both ends, mistakes at both ends.
Massive opportunity there for Gungahlin to take the lead. Felipe just didn't look up and find the guys at the top of the box, but almost a catastrophic error there from Lolo Vrikic. And when you got Nick Bobulis and Daniel Subasic on the bench, he's probably just put himself under a little bit of his own pressure now.
Well, I'm expecting goals in the first half. Gungahlin has scored a first half goal in all bar 2 of their matches this season, whereas Canberra, Croatia have only scored in the first half 3 times in 7 games. They leave theirs late.
Canberra, Croatia wait for the last 5 minutes, mate.
Most of their goals have come in the last quarter an hour of the game. So if you like a little bit of a bet, Gunners to score first.
Jeez, Russ, you're starting to sound like me.
Here's Pataldo looking for Balach. Real opportunity for Canberra, Croatia. It's Daniel Balach, and they scored inside 5 minutes. Balach takes the opportunity, and Canberra, Croatia are off and running.
So you were saying back Gungahlin for first goal, Russ? Yeah, okay. Now you really are sounding like me. Fantastic finish there from Daniel Barrage. Was composed, received the ball at the edge of the box from Daniel Pataldo, took a touch, positioned himself well, and slotted it bottom corner.
And that's why I'm not a betting man. Croatia out of the blocks at a real pace, and Gungahlin up against it. They scored early last week, Canberra, Croatia, through Daniel Pataldo. They scored early again this week. Daniel Balach with the finish. His 3rd of the season, his 48th NPL goal.
Well, this really sets it up. Gungahlin can't sit now, Russ. They've got to put the handbrake down, and because really, it's if they go into that last game just sitting on 1 point, it's not critical, but it makes the task very, very difficult.
Well, they need to find a response. Milicevic goes forward to Michael John. It's really open at both ends here at the moment. Michael John looks to swing it in towards Bernardo Madrid. Gurbish with the clearance. Oida down to Kishta, and he gets away from Timotheo. Griffiths back there. Looks for Habsomarian to keep it in play, and he can't.
And right at the moment, Russ, it's the midfield at Canberra, Croatia that's overrunning the midfield four of Gungahlin. They're really getting themselves amongst it and creating opportunities for people like Barrett and alike up front.
Barrett wins a header. Colbertaldo. Barrett does well to find Jordan Lamb. They're finding oceans of space at Deakin Stadium, the hosts. Ugrinich might have scored inside the first minute. Ugrinich goes for a strike. Had that opportunity with Nico Oida early on that Josh Laguda was forced to save, and then all of a sudden Badash was bearing down on the keeper, and it's been mostly those in red, but there was a chance for Gungahlin as well.
Absolutely, there was a chance from the mistake, and both chances, actually all three chances early in the game have all come from mistakes, which isn't uncharacteristic of a must-win match or a finals type match. So just Jason Ugrinich there, like we've seen him cut in on his left so many times in this competition and pop those top corner. Probably a little bit disappointed with that finish there.
Feels very much like the opening to last week's game between Belconnen and Gungahlin, to be honest. Golevsky wins the flick. Vudokic wins the header forward. Oida helps it on its way. Colbertaldo comes from an offside position and is pinged by Nathan Shakespeare on the far side. The flag went up.
Gungahlin just have to get back to what they do best and just keep possession, see if they can find some gaps, get the movement happening, and just build themselves back into this game.
Kishta snapping into the heels of Jeremy Habsomarian, forcing him backwards, and he's lost out here, and there's no free kick, and Barach is in again, bearing down on goal on that left foot, fires it goal, which hits the post. It's 2-0. Nico Oida could not miss from a yard. Gungahlin United are not happy at all. They wanted a free kick. Croatia don't care. They've got two.
And they've surrounded the referee here looking for the foul that they thought obviously happened here to Jeremy Habsomarian. Daniel Barras has run into the box, taken the first time strike himself, hit the post, come out to Nico Oida. Probably a little bit lucky with his touch there, Russ. It was a tap in, but gee, he slotted it bottom corner with an open net and a keeper on the ground. 2-0.
Lightning fast start from Dean Ugrinich's team, and Canberra, Croatia have Gungahlin United on the rack inside 10 minutes. It's 2-0 and the red machine is purring. Habsomarian.
We saw this actually in the earlier game in 23s this morning when Belconnen beat Canberra Olympic. I was viewing that at home, and Belconnen went to a 2-0 lead early in the game, and within inside 10 minutes. And one thing that coaches need to worry about as well with this final series, the way it's set up, is they don't want to get beaten by a lot, because goal difference could make a big difference. So if you are going to get beaten, make sure it's close.
Well, at the moment, Gungahlin United are looking for a favour from the hosts next week. They need to beat the Tigers and hope that Croatia beat Belconnen, and then they will be in the grand final.
Yeah, but look, I mean, we're what, 10 minutes into this game? There's plenty to happen. Both teams are full of quality. Just the difference right at the moment is one team's full of confidence as well.
It's a searching ball looking for Sam Habsomarian in behind. That Sam Brown save inside 3 minutes. Seems like a long time ago, even though it was only about 7 minutes back. Lamb flicks it infield, but it was out of play. Incidentally, that was the 5th goal of the season from Nico Oida.
I was about to say, he makes a bit of a habit of scoring when I'm commentating, Russ.
5 in 8 for him now. It's a good return from the midfielder, we were talking earlier in the week, he's been one of the best players in the comp this year. Yeah,
to me, he's been the standout player of the competition this year, and if we were running our own Bar TV, Russ Gibbs, Frank Keisha, Player of the Year, he'd be top of my list right at the moment, Russ.
And top of mine as well. He's been in sensational form, making things tick for Canberra, Croatia, and coming up with goals as well. Bagged a couple last week, didn't he? And is off and running again this week. Moves up to 5 for the season, just one behind Luca Flores. A couple of names we probably wouldn't have thought would be near the top of the goal scoring list at the start of the year.
And it's interesting, isn't it, Russ? The amount of different goal scorers that Canberra, Croatia have got in their stat sheet this year. A lot of them midfielders.
7 of the starting 11 out there have a goal to their name. Ball over the top, and Greenwich has got in behind here now, and the flag has stayed down again. Laguda's come out, spread himself and needed to. Danger's not over yet. And they are all at sea at the back at the moment, Gungahlin. Here's Balach to switch the play towards Lamb on the far side. Looking to take on Milicevic. Habtemariam.
It's about as good a start as I've seen from Daniel Barrett in a game, Russ.
Looking very sharp, isn't he? Looking lively, looking like he's hungry for more.
And not just feeding off the other players as well. He's creating a fair bit. He's dropping in deep. He's spreading the ball. That's about as good as I've seen Daniel starting a match.
Griffiths finds Abbas. Forced back to Laguda. Well, it's the start that Belconnen made last week, but without the end product, whereas Canberra Croatia are finding the goals.
And maybe that's the difference, isn't it, between the two sides at the moment, Russ, and between Canberra Croatia and the rest of the competition. Had Canberra Croatia been presented with a similar opportunity that Gungahlin had in the first couple of minutes, maybe the game would be different.
Well, they say that 2-0 is the most dangerous score in football. You'd settle for it though.
I'd rather be 2-0 up than 2-0 down, just quietly.
Here's Sam Habtemariam finding Michael John. He's got an opportunity in behind here now. Verkic with him, and John got the shot away and forces Sam Brown into action.
He did really well to actually get the shot away there, because Rikic has done very well to close that space between him and the goal. But still, MJ seems to find those little pockets of space, and great little ball there from Sammy Habtemariam, and a good save there from Sam Brown. Be interested to see how Gungahlin set up with their corners without Jack Green in the box.
Galevsky to take.
Lockie Griffiths might be the target if he gets forward. No, he's just come off back from the bench.
Galevsky swings it in towards Habtemariam. Opportunity for Sam Habtemariam, and he nods that over. That was a good chance.
And an interesting call there from Matty Gerber. So you could hear it up here in the commentary area. Russ just looked at the rest of the defence and said, how? Sammy Habtemariam, obviously not the hugest physical specimen out there. Clear, easy header that he received without any challenge. Just need to put that on target and ask the question.
Good chance goes begging for Gungahlin, but that will give them hope. Opportunities within the space of a couple of minutes. Balach got there ahead of Abbas. Timotheo has it back. Here is Sam Habtemariam looking for Bernardo Madrid in behind Pavlak. Good race on here, but the ball beats both of them. Out of play. Gungahlin haven't beaten Canberra FC or Canberra Croatia at Deakin Stadium in the NPL since 2017. Did the league double over them that year? Nothing since. And those goals have kept up Canberra Croatia's record of scoring in each of their last 18 games since that 5-0 defeat last year. So when you're on a roll, aren't you? Well,
success, it becomes habitual, Russ. You win games and you turn up and you expect to win games. You turn up to training and the boys are buzzing, and it's one of those great things that. But it's also on the flip side of that is Gungahlin are looking down the barrel of 5-6 games without a win now. It becomes you start to second guess everything you sort of do.
It's Colbertaldo. Balach wide. Swings that towards the far post. It's a deep one. Greenwich has come up and couldn't quite get the flick on it. But he found acres of space in those channels. And they do play 3 at the back, and noticeably, as that ball goes forward, Bernardo Madrid is offside. Let's be frank, it doesn't change, and our team's becoming more aware of this now and causing issues by utilising that space that's left.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you do your homework, if you sit down and do your homework on every team, you'll find weaknesses. I mean, it's NPL, and this is the biggest competition that we've got here locally, but there are obviously weaknesses in every team that you can pinpoint, and strengths that you can try to minimise. So, maybe that's something that they've done.
Greenwich in that space. Milicevic concedes a free kick.
And there's a couple of players out there for Canberra Croatia who probably need a bit of a confidence boost. Jason's one of them. He had that early chance a couple of minutes ago with Pavlak put him through, and just that far post cross there from Barrett. Jason needs to probably just try to work himself into this game and get a few shots on target and get a few of the nice touches and get some confidence under his belt before they move into the last couple of games.
He's over the free kick with the left foot to drill it into the area, and it was a back flick from Daniel Barac, looking for the old Henrik Mkhitaryan finish.
Trying to pick a player that played for Arsenal and Man U, Ross.
Just remember Mkhitaryan scoring one of those back heel scorpion flicks. Somebody else did it as well. Was it Zlatan maybe? Probably.
I know Giroud did for us.
Giroud, that's it. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Ridiculous finish. I'll tell you what, if Barac had done that, he may as well packed up and gone home. They've given it away again. Here's Oida. Space to run into. Nico Oida lining one up, and he's not caught that at all, and he had options left and right as well.
He had options left and right, and then when they backed off him, he did the right thing about driving into the space and look to shoot. Lockie Griffith has just slipped over, and he could have actually gone a little bit further and set himself for that strike.
Are you surprised that he didn't try that little curler that he's scored twice with the last couple of weeks?
He's probably bored now, Ross.
It's fine in the net. Here's Gillespie. Bit of space for him now for Gungahlin. Have they got something to offer in attack? Gerbischer comes out, and Verkic laying on the floor somehow cleared it. Don't know how he ended up on the floor, but
that was an opportunity for Gungahlin. Matty Gerbischer, when he comes out of your back four, there's obviously going to be a space there somewhere. And then when Lola Rikic has slipped over, there was another opportunity. And luckily for Canberra Croatia, there it's found Rikic on the ground, and they get away with that one.
Abbas at the back, swapping passes with Laguda. Griffiths. Good pressure from Canberra Croatia though. Good ball forward though. Finds Timotheo, and now Bernardo Madrid racing away with Gerbischer chasing. The former Canberra Croatia and Canberra Olympic forward swings it across. Chance here for Barbatano. Didn't get a piece of it, or as much of it as he would have liked. Good, but they opened him up again.
It's a very open game.
Greenwich falls backwards. Habtemariam with the challenge, and he's kept it in. Jeremy Habtemariam can't get past Greenwich. Colbertaldo beaten by Milicevic, who in turn runs into Greenwich, wins the free kick though. There's enough quality in this Gungahlin side to get them back in this though, isn't there?
There is. And that's something that we keep on waiting for them to just flick a switch on it. It's obviously becoming a lot harder for them to do that. The more and more games they go without a win and being 2-0 down. So
Gillespie swings it towards the far post. Bernardo Madrid came in and got away from his marker, but couldn't make the connection required. They're knocking on the door though, Gungahlin. And
that's twice from the corner, and now that free kick where Canberra Croatia haven't tracked runners, and Gungahlin almost had a free header in the box.
Well, if you just tuned in, Canberra Croatia got off to a dream start. Daniel Barac 4 minutes, Nico Oida 8 minutes. They were 2-0 up and cruising. Since then, there's been questions asked by Gungahlin, as well as chances for Canberra Croatia. Colbertaldo. This time, Jeremy Habtemariam does get the free kick. Colbertaldo nonplussed as to why.
Surprised me.
Griffiths finds Gillespie. Griffiths and falls back again to Josh Laguda. The press is really good from Canberra Croatia. We've seen this in games that Gungahlin have struggled in. The press has really caused some issues.
Absolutely. And you just got to pick the right time to do it, because if you don't, they can pick you off.
Barbatano. He's found a little bit of space in which to work. Not many options though. Has to go backwards to Griffiths. Sam Habtemariam's in a lot of space in front of us in the commentary position. Here's Barbatano. Gillespie. Barbatano's gone for the return, but Oida too strong and can bring it away for Canberra Croatia. Colbertaldo.
This is a good spot here.
Ryan Keir. Charged down by Sam Habtemariam. Giving it away again though, and here's Colbertaldo exchanging passes with Greenwich, and he gives it back to the winger. Forced a bit wide, and the cross is too deep.
And that's what we're talking about, just with the and we're not going to pick on Jason obviously, because he's got the runs on the board over a number of years, but you can just tell Russ, I just think he's just lacking a bit of confidence at the moment.
149 NPL games for Jason Ugrinic today, so he'll bring up 150 if selected next week, or in the grand final if they get that far. Back to 87 goals in that time.
They're looking pretty good to make it right at the moment.
Balach won't keep that in. Sam Brown looking into the sun as it sets behind us here at Deakin Stadium. Lucky with the weather so far over this final series. Tomorrow, it's bottom four final series. Woden Western versus Minero Panthers at 1:30 with myself and Lachlan Roberts. Myself and Frank Keisha. 3:45 tomorrow. Heads the ball. He's chasing on here. Gillespie was foot up with Brown. Free kick. So Frank Keisha and myself, Tuggeranong Canberra Olympic. 3:45 tomorrow.
Could have almost played advantage there. They had three Gungahlin players moving forward. Sam Brown's caught the ball, which meant three Gungahlin players were out of that midfield. So
Pavlak over the top for Balach to chase. Griffiths tidies up for Gungahlin. I'm going to clip it forward, but Pavlak is there. Everything's been picked up by a red shirt at the moment. Here's Kishta. He curls one towards the far post. Didn't quite have the angle or the pace. It looked nice when it left his foot.
Yeah, you could see it unfolding, Ross, couldn't you? I thought we might be back at a bit of a replay at Nijong.
It's a good hit, but didn't trouble Laguda. Again, though, the loose ball was picked up by a red shirt.
And in fact, in that time there was two, because Kidd called for it, and Pavlak had come in and nicked it off his own teammate's foot.
Laguda goes long, looking in behind Marko Verkic, who stretches the right boot and tried to get Michael John in behind. It's been very, very open here, hasn't it? It's been an interesting game so far.
I don't think many people would have predicted the fast start that Canberra Croatia got off to, Russ, but they were well worth their 2-goal lead the way they were playing.
Not quite what we expected when we turned up. Griffiths. He's threaded a ball through to Timotheo, and that one's too long for Bernardo Madrid. Nice idea. Growing in stature, though, as the game goes on, Gungahlin.
They are. And it's like we said, Russ, they needed to just basically get their foot back on the ball and just do what they do, better than pretty much most teams in Canberra, and that's just keep possession and see if they can find some gaps. What's also noticeable, Russ, is just the talk from the Canberra Croatia boys. Obviously 2-0 up, they're buzzing, they're full of confidence, and you can hear that in the way they're talking to each other, encouraging each other to get along. It's very quiet from the black and whites at the moment.
Timotheo with the header finds his way to Balach via the heel of Kishta, and he's put Colbertado down the left flank.
Somebody help me!
Looking to take on Griffiths and deliver into the air, and Balach challenging, and Laguna's dropped it. It's fallen for Ugrinic. Real opportunity, Jason Ugrinic. 3-0 Canberra Croatia. They are on fire and looking unstoppable.
And that's exactly what Jason Ugrinic needed. He'll lift from there, and Canberra Croatia well in control, 3-0 up.
An error from Laguda, pounced upon by Ugrinic, and he took his time and buries it. His 88th NPL goal. It is looking a long way back here from Gungahlin United.
It's looking a long way back, Russ, and like I said, they've got to be very, very careful around what this does to their goal difference moving into that last week. The point last week has kept them alive, because Belconnen are on a point as well, and Tigers have actually got to play Gungahlin, so there's still an opportunity for them to make the final, but goal difference may come down to it, so they've got to be very, very careful here.
Well, still a long way to go, but should they beat Tigers next week, they will be in with a shout. Should Belconnen then beat Canberra Croatia, it will be that goal difference you're talking about. Here's Michael John. Need to start making some inroads. Timotheo sliding it through. Good ball. Here's Bernardo Madrid. Good touch. Took him just a little bit wide, though. Gets a shot away again and created some openings.
Their pace up front is troubling Canberra Croatia, Russ, and the little passes from both Haptamari and Timotheo are creating the opportunities for their quick men to run onto.
Colbertaldo swings it forward, looking for Ugrinic. Milicevic nods it down. It's easy to point to the absence of Jack Green and say, well, it may have been different, but it may not have.
Well, that goal came down the opposite side to where Jack plays. I'm just trying to think back to the other two. But look, I think what Jack Greens brings to him is obviously not just the ability, but the presence and the leadership. So, maybe it is possible to point at it.
Verkic chasing. Michael John giving him issues. Verkic does well. Brown finds Oida. Verkic. I think when he's lost out to Josh Galevsky.
I think Sam Brown probably might have been better served just coming out and clearing that rather than trying to have a player that's running towards his own goal.
I think Ivan Pavlak and Ryan Keir were making that exact point to him.
Hard to knock Brown this season. He's been faultless so far.
Here's Habtemariam. Nightmare scenario this for Gungahlin United. Pre-season favourites. Being given a bit of a football lesson here in terms of finishing at least. Built themselves a big squad. This is the time for those players to step up and make themselves known. Griffiths goes wide to Milicevic. Barbatano wants it over the top, and he'll give chase to the young winger, and he's not going to keep it in play, unfortunately for him.
I've just had word, Russ, that the Canberra Olympic 18 side beaten Belconnen in basically a first and second playoff league match out at Gungahlin earlier today, and Olympic have got up 3-1, which puts them, I think, 6 points clear at the top of the table, even though we're not giving out trophies apparently.
Might see some of those under 18 boys in action tomorrow, depending on what Robbie Katnach goes with. Well, that's a free kick, and Gungahlin United don't like that at all. Again, the question being asked of Alex Toomey. Looked a fair bit of ball in that.
Yeah, that one looked a tough call against the Gunners there, and obviously the boys in black and white are letting Alex know about it, but you can sense there's obviously a level of frustration there for the Gungahlin boys.
Sam Brown with the free kick. Canberra, Croatia 3-0 up over Gungahlin United. Who would have thought that at the start of the day? Abbas has missed it. It's come for Cole Bataldo. Hits one on the turn, and that's hit the back of Griffiths. It was travelling too. Laguda perhaps relieved it came off his central defender.
Yeah, we've seen those go top corner from Collar.
Brown, he's scuffed it a little, only as far as Habtemariam. Kishta's sliding challenge, and the free kick goes Gungahlin's way.
And you just wonder, Russell. I mean, we heard after we mentioned it against Tigers last week that they seemed quite pedestrian, especially when Tigers went down to 10 men. And then we heard subsequently that Dean has actually got stuck into them after the game, and there's a fair bit of commentary in the change room around their performance, and they've obviously responded to that. So whatever Dean said has worked, and the players have responded.
Galevsky with the free kick, looking to find a way back for his team. Clips it in towards a fast post. Habtemariam run off the clutch of defenders, and Gudabisha gets a nod away for the corner. We mentioned as well during commentary this season, we haven't seen a 90-minute performance from Canberra, Croatia, but felt that when they put one together, someone might be in for a hammering. Probably did expect it to be today, and in this opposition.
What are we? Well, it's a 30-minute performance at the minute, but if they can continue playing like this for the next 2/3 of the match, they're very well placed to touch someone up here.
Galevsky with the corner. Gunners looking for something. Timotheu runs into Cole Bataldo, who's happy to concede the corner again. Timotheu,
and they've still got two players out there for the short corner.
Cole Bataldo encroaching slightly. They pulled it back to the edge of the area. Jeremy Habtemariam, shooting chance for him. Curls one goalwards. It takes a deflection, and I think it might have been Kishta. Corner on the other side, knocking on the door.
And that's what you expect to see from Gungahlin without Jack Green in the box. You expect them to play some variation to their corners, and obviously something that they've worked on the training pitch with. Good to see a bit of a mix-up here, Russ, with the corners.
Jeremy Habtemariam taking the one from the near side. Across towards the far post. Gudabisha was there. Challenging was Galevsky. Ball's thrashed clear. Quarter of an hour to go in the first half. Canberra Croatia leading by 3-0 live on Bar TV Sports. Top 4 finals football for you from Canberra. And Canberra Croatia, who were fairly serene in their progress last week, looking very, very good as we stand. But Sam Brown, ironically, when you think about it, has probably been called into action more often than Josh Laguda so far in terms of saves having to be made.
Yeah, I guess so, Ross.
Just thinking back to a couple from Bernardo Madrid, there was the one where Michael John called him into action as well, whereas Josh Laguda's basically just picked it out of his net a couple of times.
Yeah. But even where they've been shooting from, like Canberra Croatia's chances have been presented at the top of the, like in the middle of the box, right in front, penalty spot sort of thing. Whereas the Gungahlin opportunities are coming towards more the angles and.
Saves we'd expect Sam Brown to make.
Yeah, if he covers his post, he's generally got it covered.
Pavlak to Gerbischer. Back to Sam Brown. Michael John diligently closing him down. That's Habtemariam in midfield. Jeremy Habtemariam.
It's a lovely touch there from Jeremy.
Barbatano. Griffiths. Timotheu.
Who you can notice now, Russ, is dropping deeper and deeper to receive the ball.
Bernardo Madrid, likewise. Here is Timotheu. Going to spray one forward. Gillespie the target. The sun causing problems for Jordan Lamb, you could see there. And Sam Brown was always in control of the situation. Ryan Keir finds Lamb. Ugrinic was the target. Milicevic in the way. Jeremy Habtemariam. Milicevic. And it's a loose pass again, and Jordan Lamb sends it forward towards Barac, battling with Buddy Abbas, who defends that reasonably well. Left it a little short for Josh Laguda though. Yeah,
the thing is with Abbas, he's physically he'll match Barac for strength, and that's I don't know how many times Daniel's actually played against Buddy Abbas, but he'll find that out pretty quickly. So Daniel's got to try and get on the outside of him and use his pace.
Pavlak with a throw. Colbertaldo. Lovely turn from Daniel Colbertaldo. Decent delivery as well to Ugrinic. Pops it in towards Barac. Comes out for Ugrinic again. Real opportunity. Just Ugrinic. It's 4-0. Tucks it away. His second of the match. They just keep rolling, and it gets better and better and better for the hosts. They are in total control.
A lovely little move there from Daniel Colbertaldo. Beat Lachlan Griffiths. No points at all there. Just beat him and put a ball in there for Jason Ugrinic. Obviously the confidence now is starting to build, and that's really good for the young man. Jason, we spoke about his goal scoring record, Russ, and 2 in the space of 10-15 minutes.
A nightmare for Gungahlin United.
And how much space is at the top of the box there for Jason? There was not just Jason, I think there was Nick Oida was there as well, and it was just, he had buckets of time and just basically picked his spot.
Once he got past the last man, could have put it anywhere. Josh Laguda must feel like he's in a shooting gallery at the moment.
Yep, he's really been exposed there a few times. I guess when you got Lachlan Griffiths, who's the centre back, getting he was caught out near towards the corner flag with Daniel Colbertaldo, that presents itself a big space.
Barac caught by Bernardo Madrid. If I could go back to last year and that 5-0 win at the AIS, that stung Canberra Croatia, and a lot of these players were involved in that as well. How much of a sense of payback do you think there might be out there at the moment? Is that in the back of their minds? Or
I'd say for sure. That would have been spread all over social media. The boys in the football circles around town would have let them know around that 5-0 loss, and I think for all of us, we were pretty amazed that was the result. It's looks like it might be payback time.
Colbertaldo, Ugrinic, they've got the bit between the teeth today. You can see it. Oida. Not that the league champions need to make a statement of intent, but they're doing just that. Ugrinic has got loads of space on that flank to try and deliver something again, and he's been cleaned out by Habtemariam. Free kick in a dangerous position.
You can just see the frustration starting to build now with the Gungahlin players. Look pretty obvious foul from here. But Laguda coming out and sort of asking the linesman the question from where he is. Look, obviously he's a lot closer than us, Russ, but to me that looked pretty nailed on.
Jason Greenwich.
And this is not bad for his left foot here.
Opportunity. You asked for a big performance from him, Frank. He's given one today so far.
And that would please, obviously Jason himself, but even the coaching staff and the rest of the players. They need confident players going to the finals.
Greenwich whips it goalwards, and it wasn't far away. I think it bounced across the 6-yard box. It was crying out for a touch.
I thought that was going to nestle its way into the back post, and he could have had a first half hat trick there, Russ. But you look at that scoreboard and you just unbelievable, isn't it?
I go back to what I said earlier when Canberra, Croatia only scored 3 first half goals all season. They're not a first half side.
How's your Gungahlin to score first bet going, mate?
Just goes to prove the statistics can move absolutely nothing.
That's why the bookies are driving home in Lexuses and we're catching a bus.
It's quite worrying if you're a Gungahlin fan, though, with Canberra, Croatia usually save all their goals for the second half. You get the feeling at the moment it is a question of how many they want, to be honest, because you cannot see a way back for Gungahlin United. It would be one of the most miraculous comebacks I've ever seen if they can come back from here. Here's Milicevic. Gillespie going to switch it towards Sam Habtemariam. Arsenal were 4-0 up against Newcastle once, weren't they? And drew 4 apiece.
No, it never happened. Diaby got sent off. It was just a nightmare. But just back to
doesn't happen very often,
Russ,
does
back
it?
to this game. Let's concentrate on this game.
As an Arsenal fan,
that's one of the first times I've seen Milicevic actually try to get forward from that left back position. And we were talking about the loss of Jack Green, and we're talking about leadership and his presence defensively, but his ability to get forward.
Sorry, here they go again. Kishta over the top to Greenwich. We'll come back to that point in a second. Jason Greenwich taking on Milicevic, goes down in the area, but nothing doing. And your point you were making?
Yeah, just the fact that when Jack Green does play, he does get forward, and that means that
Oida, he fires one goal once we can't get your point finished.
No, so it really does mean that the right back for whoever the team that they're playing against doesn't get forward as much as well, because they're conscious about his ability to get forward and actually expose them at the back. So obviously you can hear, if you can hear it at home, there's a fair bit of chat around Milicevic and Jason with that slip or whatever it was in the penalty box, and as normal, Matty Goodrich gets involved.
Griffiths under pressure here from Greenwich. Going to find his way out to Sam Habtemariam. Balach though, quick on the touch. Ryan Keir. Colbertaldo turns. Jeremy Habtemariam snuck in from the blind side to take it back. Gillespie. Barbatano outside. Gungahlin pouring numbers forward. Jeremy Habtemariam slides it to Sam Habtemariam. He's lost out, and here's a chance for Canberra, Croatia. Kishta all on his own. Not many in support. Greenwich is one of them. Kishta's there again. Colbertaldo square. Finds Daniel Colbertaldo. Chooses to go backwards and keep possession. Pavlak clips it forwards. Greenwich. Flag goes up.
I've got to say, Russ, and I actually love Matty Gilbert as a player and as a person. He's a great guy. But when you're actually playing against him and you're losing, there's not many more annoying noises or sounds in the world than his voice. He kills you. I swear to God.
He can be an absolute pest.
Oh, and he loves it. And he's better at it than most.
And he'll play on that forever and ever, I'm sure. One of the big characters of the local game in Canberra, Matt Gerbischer. And Dini Greenwich and his team happy to have him back after his surgery on his foot earlier in the season, which kept him out for most of the regular season. Griffiths finds Timotheo. Sam Habtemariam. Bernardo Madrid. Jeremy Habtemariam. Robbed by Oida, but the ball breaks loose for Milicevic. 5 minutes to the break. Canberra Croatia 4, Gungahlin United 0. Did not think I would be saying that today. Bernardo Madrid taking on Oida. Will turn a pace, gets him into the area, and he's won his team a corner.
Not after 40 minutes anyway.
Would have been surprised to say it after 90. Not often we've seen that score against Gungahlin. Did cop a really heavy defeat to Canberra Olympic last year, of course, at the AIS. 7-2 on that occasion.
And they were 1-0 up after, all of 40 seconds?
It's at least 40 seconds. They've got a corner here. Galevsky to take. Swings it in. It's dipping, but it's always on the roof of the net. Sam Brown had it covered. Reminder that tomorrow Woden Western play Monero Panthers at 1:30. Tuggeranong United play Canberra Olympic at 3:45. Both those matches live and exclusive on Bar TV Sports, and Frank Cater will be with me at the Riverside for the second one.
I don't think we'll see the same intensity of in those games as we witnessed here today.
There were sparks in both those matches last week, wasn't it, where there were some moments, but it was all a bit pre-season friendly-ish.
It was, wasn't it?
And that's no disrespect to the four clubs involved.
No, I don't think. I mean, I think they'll all four teams will probably stick their hand up and say the same thing.
Chance perhaps to try one or two things for those clubs in the bottom four final series. Colbertaldo beaten by Jeremy Habtemarian, who gets it back off Gillespie. Now a chance for him to go forward. Oida is going to pick up a yellow card here. Fairly simple one for Alex Toomey. I would say he's got to be careful, but there's no accumulation of cards, is there? So he doesn't. Unless, of course, he gets sent off.
That's right. And actually, one of our more observant viewers, Russ, has just messaged in and said maybe the loss of Rathjen to this midfield is making young aspiring commentator himself, Michael Renato, from
he's back on the bench today, Nick Rathjen. He's been out injured for a while, hasn't he? So
that's a very good point, and probably missed on that one.
Well, he was the best player, I thought, in this team last year.
Well, I think he won their Player of the Year, didn't he, Russ? So I mean, to win a Player of the Year in a grand final winning season is a very big rap.
Gillespie from range fancies this, the midfielder. It is Josh Gillespie, and well, let's just say we've seen him hit the ball better. Josh Gillespie, 4 goals this season. Got a couple in the 3-3 draw with Canberra Olympic. And his other 2 goals came in the 5-0 win over Woden Western.
Yeah. I guess I suppose this is one of the questions that you'd sort of pose to other coaches as well, Russ, is would you prefer a player to score 4 in 2 games, or would you prefer him to score those 4 goals in 4 games? Depending, obviously.
I was going to say, if everybody else is scoring, Balatch in behind. A bit of a ricochet, and the upshot is a corner. It depends on the other results, I guess, doesn't it?
I guess it does, and I suppose the 4 in 4 sort of demonstrates a bit more consistency.
But if all 4 come in defeats,
yeah, that's right. But are you talking personal performance or individual performance?
It all depends, doesn't it? I guess what you're looking for from your players. So if there's other players that are weighing in with them, I guess I'd prefer 4 in 4 because that's a consistent goal scoring. Does bring something to this team there, Josh Gillespie. He's going to have to bring his defensive height to it.
I think every coach in Canberra, when they saw Gillespie sign for Gungahlin, thought, well, that's a very big asset, and that would...
Colbertaldo swings it into the penalty area, nodded clear by Griffiths, as far as Ugrinich on a hat-trick, of course. Jason Ugrinich couldn't get past Josh Gillespie.
And it's funny when we're quiet, Russ, all you hear is
Matty Gerbisher. Here's Griffiths at the back. Ryan Keir, too strong for Jeremy Habtemarian. Kishta Advancing forward into stoppage time, Emilio Kishta, Colbertaldo, Barach win for goal, blocked by Abbas.
And how noticeable is it, the pressure that they're putting on Jeremy Haptemariam when he's got his back to goal, Russ?
Barach has turned and skinned Abbas there. Oh no, the dummy from Kishta almost freed Colbertaldo.
Little move there.
Here's John. Flick from Jeremy Haptemariam. Barbatano takes over. Golevsky out on the left. Can Gungahlin make inroads in stoppage time? Ball forward is Milicevic. He's advancing into the air, fires it across, and Sam Brown gets there ahead of Michael John. Better though for Gungahlin, but now they've got to be careful on the break.
But again, that's what we were saying about that left back or left centre back getting forward. But look at the numbers here, 4v2.
Colbertaldo masses a space out wide for Jordan Lamb in that left back area. Jordan Lamb goes for goal himself. It's dipping, and I don't think it was far away. Josh Laguda was beaten all ends up.
And it was one of those ones that as soon as he hit it, it stayed underneath the crossbar height, and you just waiting to see where that was going to end up. But it's obviously very close.
Well, that would have capped an amazing first half. As it is, I don't think Canberra Croatia are going to complain. They are romping this, Frank, and it's a little bit different to what we all expected.
Look, they've actually sent a message to the rest of the competition, all those last three teams remaining in the top half of the competition, Russ. They're here to stay, and based on this performance, they're well and truly favourites to take out everything that there is in front of them.
Got off to a flyer. Daniel Barach after 4 minutes. Nico Oid after 8 minutes gave the Canberra Croatians a 2-0 lead. Then a brace from Jason Ugrinic have given them a firm control of this one. At half-time at Deakin Stadium, it's Canberra Croatia 4, Gungahlin United 0. Welcome back to Deakin Stadium for the second half of this NPL final series, Canberra, Croatia versus Gungahlin United, and there is a mountain to climb for Gungahlin United. The hosts lead by 4-0. Daniel Barac in the 5th minute, Nico Oida in the 8th minute, and a brace from Jason Ugrinich, 24 and 34, has put Canberra, Croatia well and truly in command. I'm Russ Gibbs, your commentator. Frank Haysher back with me for the second half, and Frank, much work to do for the Gunners.
Yeah, really interesting. Just sitting up here in the gantry, Russ, just listening to, like, obviously the players can't go into change rooms, but very animated Jack Green at half time there for Gungahlin, asking all the players to lift. I mean, obviously he's not out there today, but he's definitely asking all the players to show some ticker.
Thought Gungahlin might have made a change. They haven't. The one change has come from Canberra, Croatia. Daniel Subasic on in place of Marko Verkic, who looked a little bit ropey in the first couple of minutes, didn't he? Settled into it.
And it's what we said as well, Russ. You know, with you got three centre backs vying for a position next to Matty Goodrissa. You know, Nick Bobulus, Daniel Subasic, and Rikic, who started. So, you know, it's not hard to see why he's under pressure.
Barac, who got the ball rolling early on and has probably put in the best 45 minutes that he's put in this season. He's starting the second half in the same vein, taking on Abbas, who's finding him a real handful, but Buddy Abbas does well. Barac snapping back into it, but Abbas super strong in possession. Michael John, Timotheu.
It's a big 10 minutes for Gungahlin, Russ. They need to get themselves back in this game, even just to lift spirits by, see if they can drag one back and get themselves back, get themselves on the scoreboard, and see if they can build some momentum for the rest of the 45 minutes after that.
Nick Rathjen, Michael Adams, Mishka Namoski and Liam Walsh on the bench. You surprised none of them have been put on just yet? Or is this a question of you've got yourselves into this hole, try and dig yourselves out of it?
That's a tough one, Russ. We go back to when Tigers played Belconnen, and obviously Grogan wasn't happy with Redmond, and he sort of dragged him straight after that second goal that Belconnen scored. Just dragging players at this time potentially ruin their confidence for the next few weeks.
Do they take a forward off, bring a defender on, and try and keep the goals down? As you mentioned, the goal difference might be. Or was that ship already sailed?
Oh, gee, I think the ship's a bit sailed. They sailed a bit already, to be honest, Russ. I mean, I don't think you'd be hard pressed to sort of, apart from the big loss that they had last year against Olympic. I don't think I can remember Gungahlin conceding 4 goals in a game or in a half since forever, really.
I'll check that for next week for you.
There you go. There's your stat for next week.
Bernabeu Madrid flicks it forward. Gerbischer won the header. Golevsky under pressure from Kishta.
But Marcel would want to see a reaction now from the Gungahlin boys. He'd want to see, obviously, discipline. He wouldn't want to see any players put themselves in a position where they're not in a position to play next week because of suspension. But he'd want to see something in these next 40-odd minutes that suggests that these guys want to be here next week.
Barbatano. Ball robbed off his toes. Colbertaldo, furthest man forward for Canberra, Croatia. Numbers will join him soon. He almost squeezed his way through a non-existent gap. Oida putting the pressure on Griffiths, who needed to win it. Timotheu dicing with danger there at the back. Milicevic flicks it infield towards Bernabeu Madrid. Subasic with the touch. Ryan Keir can bring it forward and spread the play towards Barac.
Oida is just such a good mover, Russ. Even just when you see him running through midfield or trying to link up with an attack, he's just a natural athlete.
Did hear a story about Nico Oida that perhaps he might be going for trials in the A-League? Yeah,
I believe that's true. I believe that he actually spent some time, maybe even this week, over one of the A-League clubs.
Kishta bursting into the tackle with Milicevic. Habtemarian through the back of him, and Colbertaldo and Habtemarian having a bit of a come together, and there's a little bit of frustration here, and Daniel Colbertaldo would do well to walk away from it, to be fair, with this team at 4-0 up.
Interesting, because both Colber and Jeremy actually get on quite well off the park, so
just goes to show what it means to both these teams.
Exactly.
Much ado about nothing, really. Bit of handbags between the pair. Is that a featherweight bout?
Jeremy have reach. Colber would be fighting dirty. I reckon he's Italian.
Jordan Lamb with the free kick.
What are you suggesting, Russ? A charity boxing match after?
We're all for charity. Lamb swings it towards Barac. Abbas just eased him off it. Pavlak, though, is interested, and he's stolen the ball. Ivan Pavlak into the penalty area. Chance here, pulls it back. Kishta lines it up, blocked by Timotheu. And Gungahlin can maybe bring it away with Gillespie. Left it short for Sam Habtemarian. Jordan Lamb has it. Ugrinic, a lot of space if he can find Kolbataldo, but Milicevic made sure that didn't happen. And then wins a free kick.
Bit going off the ball as well, Russ. Just Abbas and Pavlak there as well. Still happening.
Yeah, just out of your picture, coming into it now. Did you see, was it late challenge on when Ivan Pavlak pulled it back?
Definitely words exchanged between the two. Barrett has just settled that down a bit. But there's
definitely not much love lost between these teams.
Going on over here.
Off
as
the
well,
ball here again, Bernardo Madrid getting involved.
Madrid and Ugrinic.
All seems a bit unnecessary.
This is the frustration that we spoke about, Russ, and this is why it's important these first 10 minutes Gungahlin get basically through unscathed.
Well, Alex Toomey wants to have a chat and Jordan King just waves him away. There's nothing in it. And a little bit, as you said, words everywhere, Frank. Everyone having an exchange of views.
And the worst thing for Felipe right now is he's going to position himself next to Subasic within hearing distance of Matty Gubrasa, who will let him know for the next 40-odd minutes of how they're travelling.
There's a bit of a chat between Timotheu and Alex Toomey here, and we just want to get on with the football, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think Alex Toomey there, the referee's actually handled that pretty well, and he's got good support there from his assistant referees there on the sideline.
Yeah, they've just handled it really well. No cards needed. Kolbataldo has it. Pavlak. There's 3 different incidents in 3 different parts of the field at one time. Timotheu spreads it forward. Barbatano to John, to Barbatano, flicks it in towards Bernardo Madrid with a header, and it's not too far wide. Better movement from Gungahlin United.
Just forgive me for going back over last season, Ross, but obviously when Olympic beat Gungahlin, we beat them 7-2, and then we lost the prelim final to them in the last couple of minutes, and Rathjen's just come on there for Barbatano by the looks of things. Just got to be. I think Canberra Croatia need to just be very mindful that there could still be another meeting between the two sides, and they don't want to fire them up with anything.
Yeah, I was thinking that it's festering quite nicely if they're going to meet again. If results go that way, of course, Belconnen and Tigers will have something to say about that.
Absolutely.
But if they were to meet again in the grand final in 2 weeks, that little undercurrent will just tick along nicely for a fortnight. Great for the neutral. Ugrinic has kept this in play. Timotheu came across. Oida has it. Finds Kolbataldo. They're opening them up again here. Here's a chance for Balac. Somehow he's not scored. Somehow Laguda makes an unbelievable save.
That's a ridiculous save there from Laguda. Barrett has basically got almost an open goal to aim at and just roll it in, but Laguda's managed to get his way across there and block the shot. Amazing save.
Superb from the Gungahlin United stopper. It was 5-0 in everything but the finish. It looked like it was a dead cert for Balac. He'll be wondering how he's not scored. We can tell him why. It was an outstanding stop by Laguda. He was stranded on the floor as well. And it just looked at Kolbataldo. It just looked to all intents and purposes as if it was another one.
It was a training drill, wasn't it, Russ? But I just can't believe the amount of space Kolbataldo found in the middle of the box again.
Playing that false 9, if you like. Here he is again. Just drifts between the lines, and he's found Ugrinic on a hat-trick, of course. Jason Ugrinic winds one up. Deflection might find its way towards Barac. Habtemarian's there on the edge of the box, and they can bring it away. Flick from Michael John.
Better serve, trying to bring that down on his chest there. MJ.
Griffiths under pressure from Daniel Barac, and he might be in here. Barac, he's been cleaned up by Laguda. It won't matter because Daniel Barac has scored for the second time in the game, and it is Super 5 for Canberra Croatia.
And he's making sure that he walks straight past Buddy Abbas to celebrate that goal, but the upshot of that, Russ, was obviously the mistake there from Lockie Griffiths, but Laguda was probably a bit lucky that ball didn't nestle its way into the net, because if he didn't, it was a penalty and potentially a card of one colour or another.
Dinu Greenwich is just asking Daniel Balic to calm down a little. He's on a hat-trick now as well. It's turning into a rout. As you said, Josh Laguda perhaps fortunate that it did go in. Tidy finish though once again, but the defending left a lot to be desired, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely, Ross. And this is going to be a mess. And this is what we said. The big 10 minutes after the restart for Gungahlin, and just near on 10 minutes gone, and Canberra Croatia have extended their lead. And without Laguda, a few minutes earlier, it could have actually been even more.
Sam Habtemariam for Gunners. Michael John's touch. Gerbisher under pressure from Bernardo Madrid, who's chipping away at him, and Mali Gerbisher having a word with his former teammates. Two players on hat-tricks, Daniel Balic and Jason Greenwich. Only two players have got hat-tricks in the NPL this season, Frank. Care to tell me who they are?
So Stephen Domenici's one. Kistis.
Good man, you've been paying attention. That's why we pay you the ordinary dollars.
Yeah, the absolute zeros that I've got in my... How's that question without notice? What? That's...
We like to quiz you on these things. So Stephen Dominici with his treble against Taugarong, Emilio Kishta with his hat-trick against the Tigers.
You like to see if I'm paying attention, Ross?
Absolutely. Why else would we invite you?
I don't know. When you got Grace Gill doing the job that she did last game, I don't know why you want me here. She's outstanding.
Got a big game tomorrow, Grace Gill, league champion. They're coming together, and that's not a pretty challenge either from Habtemariam on Pavlak. But before that, Gerbisher fouled Bernardo Madrid, and there's a couple of little things going on off the ball here, isn't there?
There's more than a couple of little things happening, Russ, and you can see it. And so obviously, there are some personalities that you can sort of pinpoint here.
Well, I wonder if I'm going back to last year, like I said again in the first half of the AIS, but it was 5-0, whether there was just a little bit said on that day and afterwards, which is coming back to haunt Gungahlin here. Dinu Greenwich will want his side to be a bit careful. He doesn't want to lose any players in a game that they're comfortably in control of. Milicevic touch in field. Subasic lamps it clear. We've still got half an hour to go. Rathjen, he'll just be glad to be back on a football pitch. Nick Rathjen.
I don't know.
Or maybe he won't. Gungahlin will be glad to see him. Well, Jack Green picked the right match to sit out, it would seem. Here's Oided. Cole Bataldo. Numbers again for Canberra, Croatia. Kishta. Balic outside him. Here is Daniel Balic on that hat-trick. It is Balic. He's hit the post. And I think Laguda got a piece of it as well. Good save, goalkeeper.
Yeah, Laguda's, honestly, in the last few weeks, Russ, we keep on waiting for Gungahlin to do something, but to be honest, he's been their best player for the last few weeks that I've been watching, commentating on their games.
Their defensive system, which has been so solid last year, has been found out completely here. Kishta sends it through, and it might come for Balic on the far post. The overhead from Subasic. Look for something spectacular. And we mentioned it last week, Frank. They could have conceded 5 or 6 last week, and Canberra Olympic netted 3 against them and probably could have had more as well. And it just looks like that back 3, teams have found a way.
Yeah, and it goes back to that whole confidence and momentum, Russ. If once you start lacking confidence, it takes a long time to get back.
Balic penalised for a foul on Buddy Abbas. Mishko Namoski has been asked
to change the game.
To change the game at 5-0, yeah. He's asked to see out the last half an hour. Has got 60 NPL goals. Sam Habtemariam makes way. Not much joy for Sam Habtemariam this afternoon.
Yeah, so the 2 young guys that came on last week, Sammy Habtemariam and Zach Barbatano, the first 2 replaced here from Marcel. Not that I don't think they did anything wrong. But I guess he's trying to work out a formation for next week. I'd say, to be honest, if Green's available, he comes straight back in, and if Rathjen lasts this next half an hour, he'll probably be a starter as well.
One thing I think we can be certain of is if Gungahlin do get through next weekend, and it's by no means a given against Balconen and Tigers both aiming for that final spot, if they do come up against Canberra Croatia again, it will be a completely different scenario.
Exactly. They don't start with a 5-goal head start or anything like that because of what they've done today. So, yep.
Milicevic driving forward, scuffs his pass to Habtemarian, who tries to get past Ryan Kieran, can't. Here's Oida. He loves the open spaces that are being afforded to him at the moment. Ugrinich, half of Deakin Stadium to run into. He's got Oida square. It's broken to Colbertaldo. Even the ricochet's going the way of Canberra Croatia. That's a good tackle from Timotheo.
And the midfield of Kistis and Uda is just so well anchored by Ryan Keir, who's just been a perfect foil for both of those guys, and Colbertaldo to get forward and link in with the attack. He's broken up so many attacks and intercepted so many passes today. He's been outstanding, Ryan Keir.
Pavlak sweeping it this side. Ugrinich has gone too early. Caught offside. Half an hour to play at Deakin Stadium. Canberra Croatia 5, Gungahlin United 0 with half an hour to go. Next weekend, 1:30, Gungahlin United versus Tigers FC. 3:45, Canberra Croatia versus Balconen United here to find out who will be playing in the grand final, who will be joining Canberra Croatia in the big dance. Bottom 4 final series next week concludes with Canberra Olympic versus Monaro Panthers and Tuggeranong versus Woden Western ahead of their playoff match the following weekend. I'm sure Frank H will be with me for some of those games.
Wouldn't go anywhere without you, Ross.
Absolutely.
This is what we do on the weekends now.
Our families don't see us. I think they're quite happy about that. Laguda at the back. Flicks it forward.
My wife's asking if they can extend the season.
It's not long enough.
Can't you do summer sixes or something?
Colbertaldo under pressure. Habtemarian gives a free kick away. Manny Gerbischer having a chat, as he always does.
Shock me.
We haven't decided which games you'll be on next week, Frank, but I'm sure you'll be on one or both of those.
Yeah, I think I'm on. I think I said I'll do both the Saturday ones.
I think you're on both of those games, yep.
We can maybe sit out and have a coffee in the grandstands for the Sunday games. And Pavlik's coming off.
He is.
Nick Bobolis, by the looks of things.
It is Nick Bobolis making his second appearance.
That might see Subasic move to the left. And Nick Bobolis' partner, Gubrisa.
Which we probably thought was, given injury, the starting centre-back pairing that we were going to see at the start of the season. Lamb lifts it in towards Oida, who jumps the highest. Colbertaldo lays it off. Kishta arriving. Here's Emilio Kishta. Down he goes. They want a penalty. It wasn't given.
If he goes down, I think he gets given though to Russ, doesn't it?
I thought so. There was contact between Abbas and Kishta. Still on his feet though. Credit to the Greek midfielder.
Yeah. The one thing I'm probably disappointed about with all that was, you're 5-0 up, the ball's come to you with your left foot and you'd have to take it with your right. You'd love to see him just, the game's won. Just needs to put his left foot through that and see if he can ask a question of Laguda.
Golevsky flicks it forward. Gerbischer back there defending. Barac. And how good's Daniel Colbertaldo been again today? Just floating around with that free roll he has.
Yeah, we're talking about the best player in the competition. If Nicky Order has had the best player in the competition this season, Daniel Colbertaldo is probably running a close second, Russ.
Redefined his role a little. Gillespie into the middle. Bernardo Madrid gets a header in and came off the shoulder more than anything. Couldn't fall for Michael John. They've created enough openings to give themselves a bit of hope.
And this is probably where Dean will start thinking about, if there is a future matchup against Gungahlin, it's just how they conduct themselves in that last 26 odd minutes to go, just to make sure that they are locking the door and they are stamping their authority on the game, and they're not giving Gungahlin any hope of not so much a comeback, but that they can break them down, given them another opportunity.
I guess from Gungahlin now, this one's gone, but whatever they can take from this into next week will stand them in good stead. Rathjen back to Griffiths. Milicevic. Long ball forward. John will challenge with Gerbischer. Keir. Jordan Lamb. Oida. Lamb flicks it for Griffiths under pressure again, forced to go home. Barach not giving Laguda a moment's peace. And Rathjen didn't look, and he's presented it to Kishta. A chance for Emilio Kishta driving forward, and he's put it wide. You thought the net was going to bulge. Another chance goes begging.
Yeah, he basically picked the pocket there of Rathjen, who just played that ball blindly across to Buddy Abbas. Kistis has pressed forward, won the ball in a really good area, and just let loose from just the edge of the box.
Thought it was in at one stage.
Far away, Russ.
Kolbataldo, they've got it back again very cheaply. Canberra, Croatia. Oida to Kolbataldo. Rathjen wins it back for Gungahlin. Namoski looking infield to Rathjen. Michael John's touch to Jeremy Habtemarian. John, was he caught late by Ryan Habtemarian? He was. Free kick to Alex, which is given by Alex Toomey. Only the one card issued so far today to Nico Oida. And as you would expect, it's quieting down a little.
Yeah, and we're sort of getting to that stage of the game, Russ, where we were last week, where the shadows start to lengthen and the game starts, all the temperature starts to cool down, and it's not as fiery as it was at the beginning of the second half.
Habtemarian over the free kick from distance, tries his luck. Ambitious.
Exactly the word I was going to use, Russ. I mean, we saw Gillespie do something similar in the first half. You'd want to be striking it pretty well to be beating Sam Brown from that sort of distance.
He'd be striking it a fair better than that. A fair bit better, I should say. Only 20 minutes of the second half gone. Kolbataldo sees off Rathjen and clips it towards Barach, who's got loads of space here. The flag goes up though against Daniel Barach. Denies him his hat-trick.
Yeah, he had the whole line to look down across there, Daniel Barach. Probably a little bit disappointed with himself to get himself caught offside, but he's obviously learnt from that first half challenge, and that the way to beat Abbas is not physically sort of one-on-one, it's to get outside him and try to use his pace.
And he's been given plenty of opportunities, and he'll probably get plenty more before this game ends, especially with the creativity behind him in midfield.
Yeah, I'm really going to keep an eye on Rathjen in this next sort of 20 odd minutes for us, just to see how he operates with Gungahlin now, and what he brings to the table moving forward to next week.
Well, there's his ball forward to Michael John. They wanted a free kick against Kier for a foot up. Did Canberra, Croatia. Gillespie looks for Habtemarian. Kier's there. Seen him given.
Oh, it was high feet. I think Nick Boblis and Michael John in that challenge, I think. But yeah, I'll be interested to see if Canberra, Croatia try to close Rathjen down, or they're just going to allow him the space that he loves to utilise.
Halfway through the second half at Deakin Stadium, and Canberra, Croatia in complete and utter control of this one, leading by 5-0. Brace for Barach, brace for Ugrinic, and one for Nico Oida. Here's Bernardo Madrid. Clips it into the area, but Subasic was back there. Kishta into the path of Ugrinic. Kolbataldo. Ugrinic once more. Looks to slide it through the gap towards Barach. The foot race is on with Barach from Abbas. Abbas has got there first. Habtemarian. Rathjen. Gillespie. John's peeled off the back of Gerbischer. Brown's come a long way. Good decision from the goalkeeper, and a nicely controlled volley as well.
Well played too, Sammy Brown.
The acquisitions that Dean Ugrinic has brought into this team over the summer settled in nicely, didn't they? Emilio Kishta in particular, I'm thinking of.
He's done remarkably well. I mean, you think about a player that was sort of getting deployed even at sort of left back, right back positions at Monero last season. He's come into a pretty hot midfield, and not only held his own, he's become one of the better players in the squad.
Thriving in the environment around him. Here he is. Exchange of passes, and chance for Ryan Keita to just slide it in towards Kolbataldo. Just over hit by the midfielder on that occasion.
I'm just sensing there's just a bit more frustration just entering into the game again, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see maybe a Haptomerium or a Kier pick up a yellow card in the next 10 to 15 minutes unless things cool down a bit. Just the 50-50 challenges, you can just see things just happening again.
Timotheo finds Rathjen. Abbas. Griffiths. Abbas again. Now Galevsky. Good ball forward to Haptomerium, but Matt Gerbish is there across Jeremy Haptomerium. We'll come in together afterwards, and
that's smart from Jeremy.
Hand of friendship.
That's really smart.
Ensures he doesn't cop one back later. Oh. Is that what you're insinuating?
No comment. You make of that what you will. EPL starts tonight, Ross.
It does. Fulham versus some club from London, I think, is first off the rank. Probably the fourth best team in London at the moment.
With the last 2 trophies won.
Slightly just up there with Brentford. Griffiths goes forward to John, touches into the path of Bernardo Madrid. This is a better move. Here's Felipe Bernardo Madrid looking to open it up on the left foot. Tracked all the way though by Bobolas. Those two would know each other quite well.
And really telling there that Nick Bobolas marked Felipe's right foot the whole time. He almost allowed him to go on his left-hand side, but wouldn't let him cut inside on the right foot. We would have spent years training together, those two boys.
Kishta penalised for the foul on Rathjen. Colbertado, in fact, was penalised. He did ask, what did I do? The plaintive cries. No one's ever conceded a free kick on purpose, have they?
I don't think the refs ever answered the question either.
Galevsky finds Haptomerium. Can Gungahlin finish with a bit of a flourish? Here's Michael John. They're finding some gaps now in this Canberra Croatia team. Timotheo, not quite the press we saw in the first half.
Yeah, it's hard to keep that up for 90 minutes, Ross.
Nomoski finds Timotheo. Bobolas pops it forward. Barac will chase, but Griffiths is the clear favourite. Rathjen. Griffiths. Milicevic, who's a bit more advanced than he was in the first half, and that's tidied up by Matt Gerbischer. Wood's ball forward is a cracker, taken in beautifully by Kishta, who stretches away and almost got Barac in a free run on goal if he had managed to squeeze the ball through.
Yeah, it's good defending there from Abbas.
Touch from Timotheo finds Milicevic. Bobolas snaps into Bernardo Madrid. Gungahlin enjoying perhaps their best spell of possession in the match so far. Timotheo, John. Loose touch from him. Kier. Oided. Nicely done to Jordan Lamb. Ugrinic. Oide. Kier. Oide. Even in the tightest of spaces they find a gap, and here's Nico Oide striding through. Tried to squeeze it past Rathjen. Wasn't really on. But they worked that beautifully.
Yeah, and maybe just the wrong decision at the end, trying to play it inside.
Brown's come for the volley, not quite as composed as he was a couple of minutes ago. Not quite as quick back as they were and snapping in the tackles as much as they were in the first half, Canberra Croatia, but I guess that's understandable with 70 minutes to play and you're 5-0 up.
And substitution, Ross. Felipe looks like he's gone off on this side, and Liam Walsh has come on.
Bernardo Madrid, frustrating afternoon for him. Colbertaldo's making way as well. Dom Gianpaolo being given the last quarter of an hour.
Congratulations to Dom Gianpaolo, new baby boy Orlando during the week, Ross.
Well, he's looking very sprightly for someone who's got a new baby, a bit like Jordan Thurtell was.
Maybe that's why Thurtell made the mistake.
He's not been getting enough sleep.
Not enough sleep.
Rathjen's ball forward, and Gerbischer just lets that roll through. Yeah, congratulations to the Gianpaolos. And if he'll cap it with a goal. He's got 2 this season, both from the penalty spots. Hasn't scored a goal in open play, Dom Gianpaolo, for over a year in the NPL. Got himself a hat-trick in the FFA Cup against Brindabella Blues last year.
He's actually, having worked with Dom before.
Well, here he is on the ball, Dom Gianpaolo. Maybe that chance came just a little too early for him.
He's actually a very good character off the park as well. Very inclusive of the boys, and very good character in the change rooms, Russ.
Ryan Keir's got 15 minutes or so to get involved today. Liam Walsh. Speaking of the EPL, big Leeds United fan, Liam Walsh. I'm sure he'll be up watching the game tonight, if it's on tonight.
That should be an interesting one against Liverpool too.
Oh, he did. Kept it in play. Finds Gungahlin on that left foot. He thought about it. Gives it to Kishta instead. Now it's back towards Gungahlin. Couldn't quite get the 1-2 working.
Interesting to see if the game was 1-0 instead of 5, whether or not Jason would have pulled the trigger there. Or
here's Timotheo at the other end, sliding it through for Michael John, who's onside. Real chance for Michael John, and he can't beat Sam Brown, who saves with the trailing leg.
And then Sammy Brown was coming out to close the angle and had a bit of a slip there, so...
Great touch that from Alex Toomey in the middle of the park. Took all the pace off it.
Must have been getting bored. But great save, actually. I think Michael John would probably think he could possibly have done better there, because he did have Brown almost on the ground before he even shot. But again, that's that chance that they created in the first half, but they're sort of running away from the centre of goals, Russ. They're running on that sort of angle, and that was obviously a good chance. But
you need your first touch to be towards goal. That's what I used to get told anyway. Unfortunately, my first touch was terrible, and it usually ended up in the car park.
Well, I think anyone that's played under my coaching in the last sort of 5 or 6 years will know what I'm talking about when I talk about the triangle, and it's an area of the goals we try to target, an area of the box we try to target all the time.
Laguda, who despite being beaten 5 times has had a good day in terms of his own personal performance. He's made some decent saves.
And to be honest, there's a real statement of intent here from Nick Boblis. He's really started strongly.
Oida advancing forward, looking to open it up towards Gianpaolo. Ryan Keir in midfield. Showed too much of it to Timotheo. Lamb. Ugrinich was looking for it. Milicevic got in front of him, but it's found Lamb again. And he's got away from a tired-looking Milicevic, and also from Rathjen. Jordan Lamb still going, clipping it into the area. Here's Badac, and somehow it's not 3 for him. It still might be, and Laguda blocks it. Incredible. It hit Jeremy Habtemariam and came off the crossbar. Some defending that was. Not sure how much he knew about it, but it looked a hat-trick for Badac. Still might be. Kishta. Gianpaolo looks for Ugrinich. Walsh with the clearance.
There's great work down the right-hand side here from Jordan Lamb. Clipped at far post and looked like just another one of those tap-ins there for Daniel Barrach. But it's hit Buddy Abbas off the crossbar, and then the follow-up save coming from Laguda again.
Just saying how well Laguda's done. That's another great save. Here's Kishta. Oida opens up again for him. Looked for Keir. A great touch from Timotheo. Takes 2 out of the play and then looks for Michael John. Sam Brown sweeping. Kishta, they could have had plenty more here.
And isn't it, it's noticeable, I think, Russ, that in the last 15 minutes of matches, Nico Oida really comes to the fore. And whether it's a fitness thing that he's just out running players, but he seems to go, not got much go through the motions, play his part in the first half hour, but in the last 15 minutes of each half, he really just dominates.
He's got a big frame and a long stride. It gets him across the ground very quickly. And beautiful touch with either feet and creating chance after chance for his team. Thought he might have tried a curler there, like he's got that in his armoury. Saw it last week. That little side foot into the bottom corner.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that happen sooner rather than later, though, Russ, before the game's over.
Canberra Croatia made all 3 subs, as have Gungahlin United. So this is the cast list for the last 10 minutes, plus stoppage time. Namoski's peeled left. Timotheu. Here's Milicevic. Noida, there he is on the floor. Rathjen. Walsh. Or Griffiths, rather, I should say. He's clipped it forward. Good ball as well. Gillespie's onside here. Josh Gillespie into the area. Pulls it back towards Namoski. Nick Bobolas again with the stretch.
Yeah, he started off well, Nick Bobolas, but I'll tell you again, that's pretty good defending there from Jordan Lamb, not to commit himself to getting too close to Gillespie there.
Timotheu. Crossfield ball is ambitious. Balach got a nod on it. It did find its way to Habtemariam though. Take it on Kishta, who got a foot in. Rathjen. Timotheu. Slides it to Habtemariam. Gets away from one. Here's a curler from Timotheu. He hit Bobolas. It's going to find its way to Gillespie. And Sam Brown intercepts.
And noticeable, isn't it, Russ? Even at this late stage of the game, 5-0 up, Gilbert is still demanding more from his players. You know, really screaming there to his wingers to get back and defend.
Yeah, Jason Ugrinich just having a little bit of a rest. Never a wise thing to do when Matty Gerbisher can see you.
I wasn't going to mention his name just in case, but feel free to point him out if you like.
I think it was fairly obvious.
What would he say? Jason, get back.
It's the standards which drives this football club, and they have been comfortable since the opening minutes here, since it went 1-0 up. Gianpaolo, challenge from Walsh.
And this will be the hard part in assessing the second half for us. Is this a better second half from Gungahlin, or have Croatia just sort of taken their foot off the pedal a little bit?
I think a combination of both, perhaps.
Yeah. Because even so, like,
there could have been another 3 or 4, to be honest.
Yeah, if not for Laguda and the crossbar, and they could have easily. Barrett could have easily had 2 more.
And that's not to say Gunners couldn't have had a couple either.
Exactly.
Sam Brown's made some good saves too.
Sam Brown's made good saves from Michael John, especially there.
Oida challenging Laguda. Where's Josh Laguda going? Twisting himself in knots.
Did well in the end.
And he found a good pass to Habtemariam too. Timotheu beaten to it. Gerbisher goes back to Brown, who scuffs that one out for a throw. We're into the final 8 minutes in a performance from Canberra Croatia which has really put their mark on this competition. Sibicic, Balac to chase. He will be wondering how he has not got a hat-trick today. Daniel Balac had pretty much an open goal that somehow Laguda saved, and then that was an open goal again, which clatters off the defender and then off the bar. Toolin, should really have had 4.
I guess you'd much rather be in a position wondering around, why you get a hat-trick, as opposed to some of the questions that Marcel will be asking himself and his coaching staff over the next few days around how we fix this.
And that's the big question. Do they go away from this tried and tested 3-4-3? Or do they trust that the return of the talismanic skipper will settle the ship again? Questions to be asked. Only Marcel Munoz and his team can answer them. We'll find out next week, I guess. Because as we stand, Canberra Croatia 6 points. Canberra Croatia 6 points. Tigers 3. Gungahlin 1, Belconnen 1.
And I don't think you would have predicted the Tigers would have been sitting in second spot in that top 4 table after walking away from you last week, Ross.
Well, what that does do means if they win next week, it means the Canberra Croatia Belconnen game is a complete dead rubber. It won't matter either way. So Belconnen will want Gungahlin to do them a favour, and then Gungahlin will want Canberra Croatia to do them a favour. as we stand.
And what we've seen over the last few weeks, Russ, is once you lose the ability to dictate your own destiny, you tend to come up short. As viewed by Canberra Olympic when they lost to Woden Valley, Woden Wanderers.
Ryan Keir in midfield. One team with destiny in their hands completely are those in red. They're going to be in the grand final again. Ball forward for Gillespie. Stays onside here, Josh Gillespie. Gets a shot away, and I think it was blocked by Gerbischer. Finds its way back to Timotheu. Gillespie with a little flick. Michael John helps it on its way as well, and that's come off for Timotheu in the end. But there's a little glimpse of what Gungahlin can offer as an attacking threat. Yeah,
maybe this is something that Marcel's looking at next week. He's taken off Felipe and put looks like Gillespie's more as one of the attacking options. It might be an idea that he toys with next week.
Gianpaolo couldn't get there. Griffiths is under pressure here. Can't go home. Well, he can, but just found Laguda. Namoski's touch is a bit short. Lamb. Oida. Dinu Greenwich wants a bit more movement. Lamb. Here's Gianpaolo. Chance for him to run at the defence. It's opened up for him. He's got Balac to the left. Gianpaolo goes for goal, but not enough sting on that.
He had a couple of options there and just sort of played himself into the position where he could only do one thing, and that was shoot.
Gillespie looks for John up the other end. Subasic tracking back to help. Habtemariam trying to create a yard of space. Walsh looking back to that shot that Gianpaolo had a moment ago, Frank, which I'll come back to in just a second, as Habtemariam dances his way towards the edge of the box. At 1-0 or 0-0, Daniel Barrett is giving him a spray there, isn't he, for that shot?
More than likely, yeah. And there was a couple of different options there available to him down his right hand side before he sort of jinked left and sort of ran himself into a position where he was only allowed one option. But yeah,
it's amazing what a few goals in front can do to team harmony in those situations. Namoski goes down under the challenge, and it's a free kick for a foul on Nick Bobolas.
And basically Canberra Croatia are looking down the barrel of an 8-0 aggregate over the last two games in the final series, Russ. So it's saying a lot about not just their scoring ability, but their ability to keep clean sheets.
14 games unbeaten. Tuggeranong United will be looking at this, having got a 1-1 draw here and gone, well, how's this happened? Greenwich bursting away. He's on a hat-trick, remember, as well. Here's Jason Greenwich. He's run it too far into Josh Laguda. Yeah, that result from Mitch Stevens' team, where they led for such a long time here as well. Frank is looking even better. When you take this into consideration, they'll be feeling, well, if we could have got into this top four.
Absolutely, Russ. And I suppose that's the frustration of some of the teams that are playing in that bottom four series, is they'll feel that they should have or could have done better given a full season.
You can see all four of them in action tomorrow, starting with Woden Western against Monero Panthers at 1:30 with myself and Lachlan Roberts, and then myself and Frank back chatting nonsense at 3:45.
What we do best, right?
Tuggeranong United versus Canberra Olympic in round 2 of the bottom four. Then we're all back again here next week for the top four final series as it concludes. Gungahlin versus Tigers at 1:30, Canberra Croatia versus Belconnen at 3:45. Both games huge in the context of who will be playing in the grand final against this team in red. Dinu Greenwich's Canberra Croatia juggernaut just keeps rolling on. They've steamrolled Gungahlin today. Got 2 minutes plus a little bit of stoppage time. I wonder how long Alex Toomey will add on. Laguda at the back for the keeper, looking to send it forward. Timotheu went and then stopped. Lamb finds Keir, and that's a city pull from Timotheu. Or to go short.
You love Matty. If we could mic up one player in this competition, it'd be him, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
How good would it be?
Here he is in possession. Brown slipped when he played that. Still found Keir. Walsh in midfield. Rathjen, Walsh. Gungahlin still sending numbers forwards. Not the ball that Anthony Timotheo wanted.
Yeah, unfortunately, they all ran down the left and the pass went right.
Into the final minute, and Frank, it's been a fairly comprehensive performance from Canberra, Croatia.
Look, let's be honest, Russ, it's been totally dominant, and Dean and his boys have really sent a message to the rest of the competition that this is the benchmark, and if you want to be anywhere near some silverware at the end of the season, then you need to match not just their ability but their intensity and their movement and their ability to finish off games.
Can they end with another goal? Subasic was in the advanced role. Lachlan Griffiths blocks him. As the sun sets on week 2 of the top 4 final series. Barac. It's looking like the list of hat-trick heroes is going to stay at 2. Unless Greenwich or Barac can find one in stoppage time, of which we've just entered. It is Barac out wide. So a good battle against Buddy Abbas, and credit to Buddy Abbas, he's not given up. He's kept battling.
Gee, it looked like a corner from here.
Perhaps Alex Toomey's felt a little bit sorry for Gungahlin United there. Still trying to play out from the back.
And again, we haven't really mentioned this, Russ, but credit to the Deakin Stadium staff. They've put on another magnificent pitch. You know, we've had 4 games on here today. We've had 4 games on here last week, and it's in great order still.
Gillespie flings it into the area. Walsh is up. Hampton Merriam. Timotheo square. Squeezes it through. Here's Mishka Namoski, and he's got his lines all wrong. Good chance that for Mishka Namoski, and he sliced it wide.
And that was a really big chance for Gungahlin to take something out of this game and take some momentum into next week. You know, that could have been a real team lifter.
Good movement.
Yeah,
good build up.
Jeremy's really got active there on the edge of the box, and that might be another thing that Marcel looks at next week, is whether or not he keeps Jeremy in midfield or whether he puts him a bit further forward. At the moment, he's got a front 3 of Gillespie, Namoski, and MJ. So he's got some real decisions to make.
Yeah, much work to do for Marcel Munoz and his team in midweek as they look to build towards what's a crunch game for them next Saturday.
And to be honest, I guess the top 4 series probably suits Gungahlin rather than an elimination type finals, because one draw out of.
Well, Oida's taken it away here, and he's advancing forward, Nico Oida, and he can't get away from Lachlan Griffiths. He had Gianpaolo in support one way and New Greenwich the other.
And he's on a yellow card, so probably wasn't. Gillespie looks like he's pulled up a bit short here, Russ.
A bit of cramp for Josh Gillespie.
Just hope that's on a hamstring.
It doesn't look like. I think he's just stretching it out.
And Oida stretching out in the box.
Well, it's kept us interested throughout. It's had a little bit of undertone as well between these two teams. And if they do see each other again in a fortnight, which is not a foregone conclusion by any means, then that's something tasty to look forward to.
I guess the best thing about next week, Russ, is that every one of those 3 teams that aren't sitting at the top of the table have all got something to play for. And the potential is, even with the last game, there'll still be something for Belconnen to play for in that last game against Croatia.
Well, Gungahlin will need to find an answer in the week, and they'll need to find an answer because they have been comprehensively dismantled this afternoon. Most of the action in the first half, Frank, Canberra, Croatia, whether they packed up their stumps and win home at half-time at 4-0, it's only for them to know, I guess. But Gungahlin United a little bit better in the second half, but realistically take nothing away from Dean New Greenwich and his team.
No, and I guess Marcel's got to regroup his boys after this game and basically take some consolation out of going slowing down that second half, just 1-0 with opportunities at the other end. But for Dean, the juggernaut rolls on. The team looks settled. Interesting to see some of the boys sticking their hand up for starting positions for next week. You know, Subasic and Bobolas were both very effective in the second half. Interesting to see how we go next week, Russ, and whether or not Canberra Croatia put out a full strength lineup.
Thanks for your company this afternoon. See you tomorrow at the Riverside Stadium. You can't give a good team a 2-goal head start in 10 minutes, and that's exactly what Gungahlin United did. Daniel Barac and Nico Uda scoring early for Canberra Croatia. A double from Jason Ugrinich took it out of the reach of Gungahlin United by half-time. Barac added his second in the second half. All in all, a comprehensive display from Dean Ugrinich's team. Can anybody stop them? I guess we'll find out between now and the end of the final series in 2 weeks. Gungahlin couldn't today. It's finished Canberra Croatia 5, Gungahlin United 0.